How many advertising messages do you see every day? Hundreds? Thousands? This is a very important question in research on persuasive communication. Even more important is the question, how many previously seen advertising messages do you recall from memory after a day? Or how many previously seen advertisements do you recognize if you see them again? From research on advertising, we know that while we might not recall many of the messages we see, we do often recognize them. This suggests that the information we see influences us in a very subtle way without us being aware that our opinions, preferences, and behavior are being shaped. During this course, you will learn many ways how to influence others. One of the earliest models of communication was formulated in the 1940s by Harold Laswell. In his view, the effectiveness of information is best understood by asking ourselves who says what, in which channel, to whom, with what effect. In other words, it is important to look at the characteristics of the source, the person issuing the message, the who, at the content of the information being communicated, the what, at the medium used to transmit it, which channel, at the characteristics of the intended recipient, to whom, and the extent to which their opinions or preferences are influenced as a result, with what effect. To learn more about the way we are being influenced by persuasive messages and the effectiveness of these messages, not only advertising effects like recall and recognition are studied, but also the effect on factors such as attitudes are important to consider. Karl Hovland, a researcher from Yale University, developed the Yale model of persuasion in the 1950s. Hovland systematically studied the possible effects of particular characteristics of the message content, the what, the source, the who, and the recipients, the to whom. Based on their findings, Hovland's team designed a 4-step process model of persuasion. Suppose you see a commercial on television. First, you must pay attention to the information contained in this message, instead of paying attention to and talking to your friends that are also in the room. Without attention to the message, you cannot be persuaded for the simple reason that the information is not taken in. Second, the message must be presented in such a way that you can understand it. It must not be too difficult for you. In the third step, you may accept the message and develop a more positive attitude towards the advertised product. That is, you evaluate the product positively. But for that attitude to influence your behavior permanently, the fourth and final step is that you must also retain your new attitude in the period after you have seen the commercial. That is, your attitude towards the product will remain positive over time. If this happens, and at a later moment you see the product in the shop, your positive attitude will influence your behavior. You will buy the product. Building on the Yale model of communication, William McGuire developed his communication persuasion matrix, in which he expanded the number of steps a persuasive message should go through in order to achieve the desired final effect, permanent behavior change. For example, a consumer who is a loyal buyer of the advertised brand. In the 60s, he started with 6 steps, but over the years, he has expanded his communication persuasion matrix to at least 13 steps. Furthermore, McGuire combined these steps with variation in source, content, recipient, and channel. As you can see, this matrix is a visualization of the famous phrase from Laswell, who says what to whom, via which medium, with what effect. This matrix allows researchers and advertisers to make an overview of how variation in message characteristics has different effects on each of these steps. For instance, consumers might pay more attention to a humorous message than to a message with lots of information. Or, highly knowledgeable recipients might be better able to understand the message than low knowledgeable recipients. But because they have more previous knowledge, they are also better to counter-argue the message, so their acceptance may be lower. You can see that there are many steps between the first step, exposure to the message, and the last step, permanent behavior change, which is one of the reasons that many persuasive messages have only small effects. The main goal of this course is to increase the changes that a message you make will be successful.